So, picking up from where we left off. A jet airliner. By the way, I looked these numbers up. I think I was using the numbers for a 747. The new Airbuses, the big ones that are only a couple of years old, might need more. But this was, I was wanting to pick accurate numbers. Jet airliner needs a takeoff velocity of 288 kilometers an hour in order to safely leave the ground. It does, turns out. If the jet's engines can accelerate the jet forward at 3.5 meters per second squared, or meters per second, what's the minimum length of the runway? Okay. What's this question asking me to find? I totally agree. What else have they told me? Well, I see a 288. What's this 288? Final velocity? What's the initial velocity? In this one, I'm kind of hoping you've been on a jet. What is VI for any jet? 0, because they always turn the corner, they come to a stop, they hold the brakes down. In fact, they rev the jet engines up while holding the brakes down because they want to get maximum thrust right away, and then they ease the brakes. I'm pretty sure VI is 0. Now, I don't like VF. Why don't I like this 288 kilometers per hour? Okay. But this is the data that I got from online, so we're going to have to do a conversion. How do we go kilometers per hour to meters per second? I'll give you a hint. It's something to do with a 3.6. Is it divide? Let me see if I'm on the freeway. 100 times 3. Yeah, divide. What is 288? What is 288 divided by 3.6? Even? You know what? That seems about right. I've looked out the window just before the jet takes off, and we're going pretty fast. Yeah, I think we're going about a football field every second. That seems okay to me. What's that 3.5? Looks like it's an acceleration. That is about what you accelerate at, by the way. Looking for an equation that has D, VI, VF, and A in it. This is where you probably want your purple sheet out. And it looks like this time I'm trying to get the D by itself right there. Again, want to really encourage you. See if you can rearrange these. Resist the temptation to start plugging in numbers right away. Trust me, I'm doing you a huge favor if I force you to master this. Ready, Ty, my friend? How would I get the D by itself? Well, what's this 2 and this A doing to the D, Tyler? Adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? What's the 2 and the A doing to the D? Adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? When we don't write anything at all, what does that mean usually? So how will I move the 2 and the A over? Yep, you're right. Later, because remember I've said we do reverse BEDMAS, so we're going to be dividing later. What's this VI squared doing to the D? Adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? So how will I move it over? Okay, so if I hear you correctly, I think I do, the VF squared is just going to drop down like a domino. Yes, 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 yes? And then you're saying I would subtract the VI squared? Say yes. Yep. And then what did you say I'm going to do with the with the 2 and the D? Yep. Or sorry, the 2 and the A? And that gets the D by itself. Yes, that's another equation. Are you going to memorize it, Ty, or are you just going to derive it each time? You're going to derive it each time because it's less work when you get good at it. Yes? Sorry, I caught you waking up. Get the caffeine thoughts flowing. Here we go. Now it's plug and chug. 80 squared minus 0 squared. I probably didn't need to put the 0 there, but I will just because. All over 2 times 3.5. If you were designing an airport, your runway better be this long. Is this a fraction? Yeah. Is there more than one number on the top? Yeah. Is there more than one number on the bottom? Yeah. So I'll go I probably didn't need to type the 0 squared, but Isabella, just so you could see, that's how I would type it if there was numbers there. Is that okay? What'd you get? It's my way of saying, hey folks, this is practice with your calculator time, right? This is your chance to make your mistakes. You're really looking a little tired and out of it. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. We're going good here. I got I'll call it 914 meters. Just shy of a kilometer. Now, James, if you were designing an airport, you wouldn't build your runway that long. You'd probably, Jaden, triple the length to give yourself a good safety margin. But I'm telling you, you wouldn't build the runway shorter than that. Or a jet airliner couldn't land on the Pitt Airport runway because the Pitt Airport runway is not a kilometer long. Okay. For the longest time back in the 70s and 80s, the only runway that jets could land at safely besides Vancouver Airport was Abbotsford's. So if Vancouver Airport was like fogged in or there were emergencies, Abbotsford had a long enough runway that it could handle jetliners. Since then, Abbotsford has like built up their airport where it's become a bit more of a hub. But that's, if you're wondering why Abbotsford Airport became bigger, they had the runway. Is that okay, Cam? So trying to show you some areas, if you ever go into airport design, I don't know if you will, trying to show you some areas where you would use this kind of stuff. Also, another big one is in RCMP crash investigations. Like example 7. An RCMP officer is investigating a car crash. Okay. At the scene of the accident, there are skid marks that are 32.5 meters long. That'd be easy enough to measure with a tape measure. The driver of the car was speaking on a cell phone during the accident. Huh, that never happens. Yeah. And the cell phone records the sound of the skid for 1.2 seconds. The speed limit on the road is 60 kilometers per hour, and the driver claims he was not speeding. You are the RCMP investigating this accident. Will this driver be charged with speeding? First question, really, what's this question actually asking me to find? This one's not so obvious. We have to think about it. What am I trying to find here? Which one? Someone said speed or V. Which one? Because from now on, when you say V, I'm going to say, which one? Initial? Yeah. So I'm going to write over here, VI equals question mark. What else have they told me? Oh, D equals 32.5. There's one more thing, this we're just going to agree on. In every single car accident in history, what's the final velocity always? Can we agree on that? There's no such thing as a car accident that doesn't end with a velocity of 0. There's no car accident that somehow is still going. Okay? I will never tell you that from now on. By the way, we will be analyzing car accidents. This is our first little bit. We'll be getting, we'll do far better analysis of car accidents and things later on. But I think, Jaden, for the rest of the year, we'll reasonably assume that at the end of a car accident, the final velocity is going to be 0. Okay? I'm looking for an equation that has VI, D, T, and VF in it. Which one? Which one? You're awake now, Hannah? Yeah. I like the way you say it, because I wrote it as a 1/2. By the way, I think each time you've said the equation, you've said it that way. Do I have both on your purple sheet, or just the 1/2 one? I kind of like that nicer. I know technically there's a 1/2, but you'll notice I kind of ignore the 1 anyways, and this is less writing and blah, 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 blah. Oh, times D, Mr. Dewick, times T. You can see I'm not that familiar with this equation because in Physics 12, Hayden, don't use it. It's redundant, but okay. All right. What am I trying to get by itself? VI. Hey, are any of these zeros? Which one? You know what? I think in this special subcase, I can do that, which actually is going to give me an equation, Braden, that looks like this. In fact, if you really wanted to impress me, if you had just read out, there's going to be a VI, there's going to be a T, and there's going to be a 1/2 or an over 2. And you'll notice I even got rid of the bracket because T times VI is just T times VI. If you had read that out, you would have impressed me, because that's really what this subcase equation is. Am I going to memorize that? No, I'll derive it each time. You ready, Braden? What are we trying to get by itself? What am I going to do with the T? So you know what? Let's be lazy and just go chunk, chunk. What am I going to do with the 2? Let's go like that. Is that what you're saying? If your final velocity is 0, apparently your initial velocity is going to be 2 times the distance divided by the time, which is going to be 2 times 32.5 divided by 1.2. Which gives me 54 point, I'll call it 50, I'll write 54.2. Yeah, you know what? 3 sig figs, 3 sig figs, yeah, that works. 54.2 what? This is meters per second. At first I thought, oh, 54, he's below the speed limit of 60. But wait a minute, that's meters per second. How do I go from meters per second back to kilometers per hour? How fast is the guy going? I'll use my answer button, times by 3.6. Yeah. If there was a car accident, Kareem, this guy would get charged with vehicular manslaughter. And you could bring this to a court of law, and the judge and the jury would... And, by the way, he's going at least this fast, because he might have slowed down before skidding, right? So you could actually, in a court of law, with this information here, say, this is the minimum speed you were going. Now, there's a bit of a problem here. Tyler, I kind of had to fake things. I kind of had to say, okay, the cell phone picked up the sound of the skid, which doesn't happen very often. What if I only gave you the distance? Because that's what the RCMP really have. They have the skid marks, and that they can measure. Can you figure out how fast someone was going if you only had the distance? We can later this year, but I have to teach you about the force of friction and forces and normal force. But we will. You haven't got the skill yet. So I had to, if you're looking at this one, Mason, and kind of saying, that whole time seems fishy, the cell phone magically picked up the sound of the skid. Yeah, I had to cook the books a little bit to give you an interesting question. Okay? Pardon me? It was a setup. It was a contrived question that I wanted to make interesting to just get you started on our CMP investigation physics. But in reality, we can do way more. We just don't have the skills yet. Okay? Pardon me? If he had injured a pedestrian, he would be. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Or, you know what? How about just don't drive fast and stupid? What's your homework? Your homework is this whole thing, every question. Last day I said you could take a start on number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You're going to have all class to work on this. Do me a favor, though. If you want to scroll down, put a little star next to number 17. That one's nasty. If you figure out number 17, be impressed. This is one I expect most of you not to get. I've told you I'll try and put the odd curveball in the homework just to see who can really have Jaden. I figured it out moment. Okay. By the way, the key idea in number 17, I gave you the average, which means some of those equations on your purple sheet that have a V average in them, you might be able to bring those into play. And then another tricky one, number 20, and the challenge questions if you're going to kill Mickey Mouse or not. Okay? I also have a take-home quiz for you. Let me hand that out.